This week we're doing a bit more with Google Sheets, and I wanted to show you how to do some calculations in Google Sheets and some of the basic things that we can do in this tool. So I have here a budget, and I want to find the percent that each category is of the budget. So the way I would find this value is I would take the amount divided by the total. That would be how I'd find the percent of each category. So if I wanted to do this in a calculator, I would do 110 divided by 1,480. But I'm going to do this in the spreadsheet, and any cell in the spreadsheet, any one of these little boxes, can be used like a calculator. The only thing you have to do to get it to recognize that you want to use it as a calculator is to type in an equal sign. Many of you might have done this in another class. When you type in the equal sign, it indicates to this, the spreadsheet that you want it to calculate something. So I can do that a couple different ways. I can type in the numbers. So I could type in 110 divided by 1,480. And that would give me a decimal that I would turn into a percent, but right now it's in decimal form. So that's one way I can do a calculation, is by typing in the numbers. But another way I can do a calculation that allows me to use a lot more of the features of a spreadsheet is to use cell referencing. So what I mean by that is this $110 is in cell B2. It's in column B and it's in row 2. So if I click on it, its location B2 comes up in my formula, or I can type it. So if I take this out and I type in B2, even if it's lowercase, it knows that I mean this number. Okay. So it's saying you want me to do something with this $110. And I'm going to divide that by the location of the 1,480, B15. I can click on it or I can type it. Okay. I get the exact same value because it's still using the same numbers as I typed before. The reason why this is a useful thing to do is because if you have to do the same kind of calculation over and over and over again, Google Sheets makes that really easy. Any spreadsheet makes that really easy. The thing that you have to do is you have to copy the formula. And when you copy the formula, it'll automatically move everything with it. Here's how we copy. If you hover over this little box in the corner right here, it changes the way your cursor looks. It turns it into this little T. That T indicates that you could grab onto the cell and copy what's happening in the cell into a new location. So if I click that and I drag down, and I'll just drag it a few places, it tried to copy the formula. It didn't work, but it did try to copy it. So let's look at why it didn't work. And then we can look at actually copying it so that it works out right. So if I click on anything that's got an error message, or if I click on any formula and I double click the cell, it'll bring that formula back up into view. So if I double click on this next one where I have my error message, here's what it was calculating. It took B3, my $550, that was good, but it tried to divide it by an empty cell. And so here's what happened. Let's click on the next one. B4, that seems fine, but B17. Every time the formula moved down, both spaces moved down, both the top of the division and the bottom of the division. They moved down every single time. I want the top to move down, but I don't want the bottom to move down. So I have to do something special in my formula. Go ahead and delete these. Let me go back up to my formula. I double click on it, it opens it back up. I want to keep it so that B15 never changes. I always want to divide by 15, and I don't want to have to retype it every single time. I could, it's not that much work. But if I had a longer budget, or if I had more complicated calculations to do, I wouldn't want to have to type them over and over again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so that B15 is locked. If I move my formula around, it just takes B15 with it. It doesn't change it. And the way I do that is I put a $sign in front of the B, and I put a $sign in front of the 15. So it's in front of the column, and it's in front of the row. Okay. So B2 will change if I move down. That top number will also move down, but the bottom number will stay exactly where I have it. So I push enter. I click back on the cell that I want to copy. I hover over the corner to copy it, and I'm going to click, and holding down my mouse, I'm going to drag it. And now I've done my calculations all the way down my table. I didn't have to do them over and over and over again. If I double click on any one of them, here I have B5, my $40, divided by my total, 1,480. Now these values are supposed to be percents, so I can do the calculation in the cell, but what if I want to make them look like percents? The button that we want to use here is the Format as Percent button that we have up in the toolbar up here. So if I click that number, there's what I was highlighting, that 0.04, etc., turned into 4.05%. I can click and choose a set of numbers to change all at once, or I can click the entire column to change all at once. So clicking on any of the column headers will choose the entire column, or if you click from the middle of a cell and hold down the mouse and drag, you can choose a bunch of cells all at once. So if I do this and I click on the percent button up here to format as a percent, now all of them look nice and like a percent and just kind of easier to look at than all those decimals. The last thing I want to do is show you how you can find the total of a set of numbers. So say I want to add up all these percents and I really don't want to put them all into my calculator by hand. I would like the spreadsheet to do that for me. I'm going to type in an equal sign. And I'm going to, rather than having to click each one of them and add, I could do that, but again, that would take me a little bit of time. Okay. There's a whole bunch of formulas pre-programmed into MyOpenMath, or not MyOpenMath, into Google Sheets. So there's a bunch of formulas pre-programmed into Google Sheets. Google Sheets will add up a whole bunch of numbers. If I type in the formula sum, S-U-M, and it suggests to me already what it thinks I'm going to want to add up, and it's right. So it thinks I want to add up all the cells from C2 up here down to C11. It doesn't always get it right. Sometimes you have to type it in for it, in which case we would put an open parenthesis and then choose the things we want or type in the things we want. So I can click from the middle of this and drag, and it will choose all of those. I could also type it in by hand. So if I knew it was starting at C2 and I wanted to go all the way to C11, I use a colon to indicate I want everything in a range, and then type in C11. And now I've grabbed those things correctly. I like the fact that it gives you the little colors to show you what it is you're referencing, because you can check to see if your the way you typed your formula is correct. For example, if I type C2, comma C11, you can actually see it's only going to add up these two things. So that's also something you can do. You can add up a bunch of things all over the place in Google Sheets using the commas. But I want to use a colon because I want it to take everything from C2 through C11. And if I press enter, it adds up to 100%, as it should, because all of these values here added up to 1,480. That's a bunch of stuff about Google Sheets so far. We'll use a few other things in the next few weeks. And yeah, thanks.